You are now listening to the Here for the Truth podcast, hosted by Joel Rafidi and Yerasimos.
Okay, we got Mike. Mike just came on right now. Look at him. He's like got the books behind him, so everyone can know how smart
These
he
are
is.
fake. This is digital.
You know, and then he's got the blue light glasses on, so everyone know he's like a good Austin biohacker.
See, this is going to be, I got to address this up front. I'm not going to be able to take you serious as a podcast host. It's not going to work.
For anyone who knows, Mike and I literally just talk shit to each other all the time, every time we hang out, which highlights how much we love each other.
I need to put on my matching pea-colored glasses.
There we go. See?
Should I wear mine too, so we can
Get
all
them on.
on blue bloggers, dude?
We got to tell the people to protect their eyes.
Hold up.
Oh, wow. Oh, you look much better in your photo than real life, Yerasimos.
Yeah, you should keep that off the whole time, huh?
Yeah, totally.
The problem is these are
Your
these
camera's
are-
off.
that,
Right? Your camera's off.
I know, but these are the ones that
Oh,
are
my
Come
goodness.
on. You look like you're
Jeez.
welding something.
Yeah, I got these custom made, bro. Back in the days, but before Matt Maruka, like Raw Optics, his thing blew up. He was like living home and making these out of his basement, and so I got glasses from Warby Parker, and I sent them to him, and he made them. This is like maybe 7-8 years ago. So like when the real people were doing this kind of stuff, not everyone.
You were ahead of the curve.
I was ahead of the curve, bro. That's what they call me. Yerasimos head of the curve, Stiglianesis.
Yeah. I knew people were calling you that. I've been hearing that whispers.
Literally, no one has ever called you that.
This is great, dude. I'm gonna love this. This might be our
Okay.
best podcast ever.
Mike Cardamone is a writer and creative director. He makes comedy content at don'tslapsnooze.net and collaborates on other projects with people who are much smarter than he is. Mike has degrees in
Not
English.
Yerasimos.
Mike has degrees in English, advertising, and media production, all of which he's misplaced the diplomas for. Currently, Mike is putting paragraphs in third person to make it seem like he's not the one writing this bio. All right, guys, it's been
One of the best
great.
bios.
It's been a great episode of Here for the Truth. Thank you so much.
I think we covered all the bases. Let's pack it in.
Yeah.
What's going on, bro? How are you?
I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling. I'm back home after Confluence. It was nice seeing you fellas in the flesh.
Nice.
And the flesh. Okay.
Yeah, no H.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Considering that bio said absolutely nothing about you, would you like to let the people know who you are?
What do you mean?
Usually we ask something about like your hero's journey, like what are your major rites of passages, what kind of led you down this path, whatever you want to speak into, bro. Like,
How'd you end up here, bro, on a podcast with us? Okay. Let's start at the day you were born.
yeah.
Well, I was conceived in a kayak inside of an elevator inside of a Dick's Sporting Goods. And I don't know. Where do you want me to start for real?
Well,
I
listen,
mean,
we always start off with first time guests. Like, what's your personal hero's journey? And like Joel said, like the major moments of your life that guided you to who you are today and the work you do and your outlook on life. And, I know that you worked in like the industry, you worked on in the industry, as a
sounds
director
nefarious,
and and a creative person. I mean, you're still creative, but like using your skills for different reasons. But tell us a little bit about you, Mike.
Yeah,
I literally know nothing about you, so yeah, please.
All right. Well, yeah. So that's kind of the start of my creative career, I guess. I was writing TV commercials and making campaigns for all kinds of brands. We had tons of clients, but like shitty food, beer, spirits, a bunch of stuff that I wasn't really imbibing in myself, and I was putting a lot of creative energy towards that, and it just got really draining. And then we had the whole I don't know what if we're censored here, but the whole 2020 kind of thing.
We were censored off YouTube, but I don't think we're censored off Zoom, so you can say things.
Not yet.
I'll take these off.
So yeah, what's that?
I'm taking these off.
Yeah, I probably will too, but I just want to have them on right now for a little bit.
Yeah, it feels good. So yeah, I was writing commercials and doing that. I was in that world. I know your brother's in that world, Yerasimos. And yeah, it just got draining, kind of giving creative energy to those kinds of systems because it quickly, especially over time, became apparent to me what was actually happening, which is that, they enlist creative people to kind of do their bidding, right? And it sounds ridiculous in the context of whatever, a flying bumblebee for Honey Nut Cheerios or whatever. But we're in this weird space where this kind of propaganda is disguised in ridiculous ways. And that's what my energy was being geared towards. And I realized that it had an effect, it had influence. And so I kind of just dropped off and then started getting involved with, friends of ours, people like Alec, people like Mike Winter, and just being like, look, this is what I had going on. I'd love to put some creative energy towards the projects you guys are building as well. And then at the same time, I started, writing this kind of weird comedy hybrid kind of thing that you guys saw at Confluence, where it's kind of half stand-up comedy and half kind of, I don't know, educational, for lack of a better word, kind of half lecture, half stand-up.
You did something at Confluence?
Oh, you missed it?
Dude, listen,
That's
actually,
for the best.
Which is funny because
I put him on. I made sure you couldn't get in, so that makes sense. I had you on a list.
dude, I actually went to your talk. I think I watched the last half hour, which is the only talk I saw. Because I've been to 5 Music and Skies, and this is my 3rd Confluence, and I go there now just to hang out with people. So I tell my friends, listen, I love you, but I'm not coming to your talk. But we've met. I haven't seen too much of your work, and I know it was comedy, and I love comedy. So dude, I rolled down to spend some time here, and you do your thing, and it's pretty awesome, and it's pretty hilarious because you're talking about the things that we talk about, from let's say a more serious, scientific standpoint of challenging, the establishment and the status quo, and you use humor, and in a lot of ways, comedians are the greatest truth tellers, or they can be, and they have been in some ways in the past. So. Because I feel like you can present information in a way that can be digestible through humor. Do you agree with that assessment, Mike?
Yeah, I do agree with that assessment. I mean, that was intentional. I knew there was kind of, it opens people up, even in terms of their spirit, right? Like the ventilation of laughing opens you up to information that you might not be comfortable with receiving otherwise, or the ability to kind of transmute the fear around a lot of these things, whether it's vaccines or people freaking out about things being sprayed in the sky, or what's going on with money, and all of these things have a lot of fear around them. And if you can kind of make fun around them and explain the concepts, it makes everything more digestible. And so that was the intention in terms of how I was approaching things, because like you said, there's a lot. It's a tool, right? And it's very effective. And just to be honest, most of the time people are using it irresponsibly, and which is fine. We were watching the Ali G show together. It's there's still stuff that is hilarious in and it's on its own, but there's a lot of comedy that's just kind of about nothing. You know what I mean? There's not really, any ideas attached to them. So I intentionally have, this is half education, half comedy and that kind of thing. And I knew that was kind of a lane that no one's in.
Yeah. When was the first moment where you went like,
I can't take Yerasimos seriously. It looks like an artsy or something right now.
I'm going to take them off soon. But I feel like I look like, isn't Robert Downey Jr. always wears the orange glasses at all his his events? But anyways, I haven't worn these in a while. I haven't worn these in a while, because I just don't. I mean, I care, but not as much as maybe I do.
So Mike, when did you start questioning? Okay.
Yeah, real quick. When was the first? Okay, now I look weird taking them off. I don't want to steal your thunder, Mike. But when was the first aha moment where you're kind of sitting in your bed, alone, thinking about life, the questions of the universe, contemplating, our deep friendship that started 3 years ago at Confluence, and you went,
I had a vision of it prior to meeting you.
Yes. No, but when did you have listen, I'm going to use my skills and tools to do this kind of thing? What was the first thing that you did that was kind of connected to what you do now?
Yeah, I kind of had the idea of a kind of show or it was kind of presentation that would merge those two things that I was talking about. And then the first thing that I had written was about the vaccines. It was about all the ingredients in them, the horse blood, the monkey kidney cells and all this thing. And then, I had written a thing where it was at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if every vaccine had moose cum in it. And, was kind of going off on all of the ingredients and built this kind of piece of writing. So that was the first thing that snowballed everything from there. It was when, it was in the heat of, 2020, everyone's freaking out about a vax. And it was just I'm reading about these things anyway. I'm interested in learning about them anyway. And then that's just kind of the way I was thinking about it. make it funny, make the concepts more digestible, as you mentioned before. And
Yeah.
Right.
When
this,
did when did
this Instagram riddle is going to go off? Do vaccines contain
clip that.
do vaccines contain moose cum?
when did you like, obviously you decided to leave your industry, but when did you start like waking up more to a lot of the things that you were writing about? Was it 2020 that really got you to look into stuff, or did you look into vaccines earlier? Did 9/11, like for a lot of people, myself, like a couple years after 9/11 was my initial like WTF moment, and you know the wheels started turning and I started going down all the proverbial rabbit holes. So like, what was it for you?
Not everyone's 53 years old, bro. So it wasn't unrelated for us. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not looking too bad, and I don't put pee on my face, and I still look pretty good.
Well, that's where you're messing up. This is where we'll get into that. Don't worry.
No.
What was the question?
When did you
I
start
kinda
questioning? When did you start questioning conventional paradigms?
I kind of had waves of it. So like I remember being in high school, in the computer lab in high school, going on David Icke's site and like getting into stuff early on, and that was kind of like the moon stuff and like kind of that kind of stuff. The lizards, the basics.
The 101.
So I was kind of into that in high school, and then put it away. Kind of went to. I did regular stand up for a little bit in New York, and then got into script writing for the commercials and stuff. And that took over like beyond full time. And so, kind
Where
of
were you living at the time? Were you in New York or LA, or were you in another market?
So I was in New York doing stand up for a little while. And then I was in California once I went the advertising route. So I was in San Francisco. And then that's where we would kind of write stuff. And then we'd fly down to LA and film it like with people like your brother, and then go back up and edit it in San Francisco. So that was did that for like 7-8 years.
Wow.
But yeah, put that kind of stuff away for a little while. And then once 2020 happened, it was like, all right, it's kind of, it's entering our lives, whether we, you know what I mean? Like based on lockdowns and all that kind of stuff, quote unquote.
So did you set a strong boundary of like, you were still working in industry and then they wanted you to take the vaccine, or were you already like, I'm kind of over this as my profession or what I want to do in the world, and it was kind of the easy way to just say no? Like, what was that process of like, you're working in the quote unquote, like, mainstream world doing this thing, and then there were these, mandates or rules that you can't show up on set unless you get tested, and that whole thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So initially, everything went remote. So no one was telling me to take anything necessarily. And then like, just by the nature of that, like it started like a lot of stuff, like the scripts we were writing were animation, for example, so that we didn't have to go shoot something and it can be done remote and work around that kind of stuff. Cause that was crazy. But then by the time people were supposed to go back to the office and have to go back to set and do all the things, I had already decided to leave. So I didn't face any kind of, overt pressure necessarily in that respect. But once I was thinking about these things and doing all this kind of research, it became apparent that I had to just leave. Like it wasn't in alignment anymore. Like, because like at that time, I remember like all the commercials were like, for example, I forget what airline it was, but there was a airline who ran a big campaign about like wearing masks, and everyone was dancing down the aisles and doing this thing. And like, remember the Colbert Show had like dancing vaccines and shit. And it was like, so it's like, all right, I really can't participate and be in alignment with it. It's not going to work. I had to pull the parachute.
You were ahead of the curve, bro.
That's what we were saying. People also called me that.
Like ahead of the curve, Cardamone.
They called me Mikey Curves.
Mikey.
Now, a short break from the episode.
What's up, everybody? Hopefully you're enjoying this episode with Mike and getting a laugh and learning some things. If you want to come hang out with Joel, myself, and our growing community, have a laugh, get deep, and talk about things that really matter, you can join us in our membership community, Friends of the Truth. We do 5 calls a month, 2 community calls, a German New Medicine study group, an astrology call, and a live podcast with a previous podcast guest as a Q&A just for our members. So you can go to hereforthetruth.com/FOTT to join. You get all that for just $17 a month. We'd love to have you in there. We'd love to connect. We'd love to get to know you better. And we'd love to just have fun and laugh as we continue on this wild ride of life together.
back to the episode.
What is the hardest thing that you've ever overcome in your life?
Oh, dang, man. Dang. That's a tough question. You just slapped me across the face.
Don't slap Stu's, bro.
Listen, bro, we
Oh,
can
man.
don't slap suits, dude. We can make jokes and talk shit, and we get mad deep. That's how we roll over here.
I respect it. I guess I'm still in progress of doing it. It would be kind of just facing past traumas, taking some responsibility for needing to move forward with reprogramming the things that you were programmed with, and kind of it's still an ongoing process. But being able to face things that need to be faced, so I can move forward and be a better man. Pause.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll keep working on that, bro. We got a long ways to go.
Thanks a bit.
Dang, I thought it was a decent answer, but all right.
Thanks for being super
Don't
fucking
clip that.
vague.
Don't clip that one.
Thanks
Cut
for being
that
super
out.
fucking vague, bro.
Cut that out.
Dude, like
Wait,
I have some trauma that I need.
Did you read that?
Mm.
Did you read that answer off a Hallmark card or something? Or?
I thought we were here to have a good time. You guys are trying to dig up some trauma on me.
Yeah, bro, dude. Unless you cry on camera, like this isn't a successful interview.
Yes.
I mean, I might cry depending on how long I still have to continue to look at your face. We'll see. What do we got?
Yeah.
So
So
people are either gonna love this episode or be like, some bros, some dudes doing dude things.
Really messing about.
Yeah,
it's okay, bro. You're still approved of Yerasimos. It's okay.
I know. Hope so. Please like me, everyone. Please keep listening to Here for the Truth.
When did you start drinking your own piss?
I started drinking. That's a great question. I started drinking my own piss about 5 years ago.
You're like one of the main people I think in our world that like talk about it, right?
I don't know. I guess I don't know how it happened. It's weird because like it's one of those things that like people, I don't know. It's so triggering, for lack of a better word, that like people obsess over it. So it's like, I don't know. It's like hard to like, once I discuss it, it's like, I don't know. People are obsessed with it, even though they're not doing it and they're weirded out by it. It's like they're more obsessed with it than I am, and I'm drinking it all day.
Yeah, because it's a fascinating thing. I mean, it's quite taboo.
What's interesting is all the conversations that happen about Mike when Mike isn't there, and someone's like, "Who's Mike?" and then someone's like, "The piss guy," and everyone knows who Mike is.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I don't know how I became the piss
P
guy.
Mike.
I'm more than the piss guy.
Yeah.
But in part, I'm the piss guy.
Yeah, it's true. You're like, I think of you as P Mike, not ahead of the curve Mike. So
See, that's tough. Like,
I think Mikey P. Like Mikey P.
Mikey P Cardamone. That's like a nice little thing because it seems like it's like your middle initial, and Mikey is your thing. Yeah.
maybe I'll get it changed on my government birth certificate docs.
No, but for real, like obviously, like all jokes aside, like what drew you to it? What does your pee taste like?
It's good. What drew me to it, a friend of mine who wasn't even doing it, was just kind of entertaining the idea of doing it, put me onto it. And then, I mean, like everyone else, I thought it was crazy. I mean, I was making fun of him for it. I was like, yo, come on, man. And then, the more I looked into it, the more it kind of made intuitive sense and a more kind of literal sense. Like there's actually a lot of research that people can look up. There's tons of books, and, it was never considered a waste product for the entire history in Earth here. Like it's only been considered a waste for like similar to like the germ theory kind of stuff, like the last 100 years or so. So there's just so much documented information about it that it's kind of hard to avoid if you genuinely look into it and kind of are willing to put aside your biases and the programming around it, because it's deep. We're programmed into thinking about it as a waste and all this kind of stuff.
What are the ingredients in urine? Like, so what's in urine? It's primarily water, right?
Yeah, it's about 95% water. And then the rest of it, the next main component is it's all different. These are kind of generalizations, but about 3% urea, which is where the term urine comes from. So that's kind of the main component beyond water. And then the rest of it is what's that?
What is urea?
I mean, it's a compound, but it's used, it's used medically for all sorts of purposes. Like it has, for example, what they call mucolytic action, which means it pulls mucus. So it's a great cleanser. It's like a solvent. It's used in all sorts of kind of pharmaceuticals and medications already. They kind of isolate it, but it's kind of naturally occurring in living things.
Okay. So 3%.
And then the rest of it
is 98. Okay.
Yeah, and then the rest of it is a long list of so-called vitamins and minerals and hormones and stem cells nothing exists in the urine that isn't already in the blood. So it's a blood product instead of a waste product, if we want to frame it that way.
So I should just like identify as a vampire and start drinking people's blood. Is it the same thing?
Well, if you want to start getting into others, that's pretty intimate. That's some you gotta consider what's going on, because for example at Confluence with someone like Veda Austin, who's presenting on how water is able to hold and store information, right? That's part of the urine, and it's actually information that's been generated by your body. So it's not quote unquote outside or foreign information as you would get from other types of water, whether that's tap water or spring water or whatever. This is water that the structures in it have been made for you to communicate with, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first heard about it, I first heard about it a while ago, but I would say maybe last year was the first time I kind of wanted to look more into it. And like, I was surprised, like when someone had said they had stem cells, and I went on I went on the internet and it was like, yeah, your pee has stem cells in it, which
it's like mainstream.
Like stressing about stem cells. Oh, we need to inject stem cells. We got to do this stem cells, and that like you already have something that has it.
People are spending tens of thousands of dollars on stem cell injections, and I don't know where those stem cells are coming from, so these are your own.
What other profound shifts that you've noticed in your life since committing to your urine?
It's
that sounds funny. Committing to
your urine.
It's like you're marrying your urine.
I'm committed to the urine. That's not helping my image as fucking P-boy or whatever you call it.
Mike Cardamone.
Since it's been 5 years at this point, like in retrospect, so much has changed. When I look back 5 years ago, everything, because it's also fractal, right? So for me, a lot of it has been a cleansing process on a kind of physical level. I've gotten a lot of weird shit out of my bowels, literally. So it's been a very cleansing kind of process, kind of cleaning out the temple. And then that, as you guys probably discussed on other episodes, like all that stuff is attached to emotional things or traumas you had in the past that I cleverly skirted around to avoid talking about earlier. Or, that ladders up to spiritual things, right? It's all kind of connected. So in retrospect, after having doing it for years now, it's hard to pinpoint one thing. It's been a complete holistic kind of upgrade of the way I think, how clearly I think, the way I relate to people, the way I love myself. It's a long list.
You kind of have to love yourself to drink your own pee.
It does help a lot.
On some level, unless you like, maybe you approach it from a different angle and like you like kind of, anyways, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting that you say that, because like, for example, when I talk to like Yerasimos, you and I come from generally the same area. I still talk to my friends on the East Coast who I grew up with, who we have a good rapport. We chop it up, we laugh, we have fun, but they're not into all this stuff that we talk about. But we talk about it and we have fun with it. But I get cool perspectives from them, which is I forget that for most people, they're completely disgusted by their urine, and it's, it comes out brown and stinky and it's disgusting and they don't want to interact with it. But it's a reflection of what they have going on in their body and what their habits are. Because once you start engaging with it, and for example, you eat something and then you drink that urine afterwards and you're like, oh, that was not good for me in any way, shape or form. And you have this kind of feedback mechanism where you start to engage more with your health in a way you haven't before, in a really clear, direct communication with it. It's not, taking a medication that's been prescribed to you and yada, yada. It's this kind of intuitive getting to know yourself medicine. And through that process, you do, your thoughts change, everything opens up and you start engaging in a different way, or at least I did. I'll just speak for myself.
Okay.
So it is about a self-love process is the point I was getting at.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. So obviously we made a joke that you were vague about like the trauma stuff, but like you now, okay, versus like pre-P Mike, like, I'm making a joke, but also serious, like, like what's different? Like what's different in you? I know you said you can't pinpoint, but like if you were to self-assess, like Mikey P before P, was, what were the things that you were navigating and dealing with, like from a psycho-emotional standpoint, and even in your life, maybe even a relational standpoint to, this kind of journey you've gone through engaging in something that like the majority of the population maybe due to education, maybe due to just like personal preferences, like, ugh, I don't want any of that. You know, like what's different?
Yeah. I mean, my heart was completely closed off. I wasn't in tune with myself. And even in terms of the kind of self-love thing, I didn't like myself at all. And that was reflected in all sorts of internal negative self-talk, which is still there sometimes, but I have a much different relationship with it now. And then that relationship with yourself, I think, opens you up to being able to relate to other people. My literal relationships with other people now are much different. For example, I'm friends with awful people like you now. But for example, here's a concrete example. I was in a relationship prior to doing this. And as I became more of myself, it was very clear that we were going in different directions and I could no longer sustain that relationship. So as the relationship with myself has changed, all of my external relationships have changed. So yeah.
Yeah, that's how it goes. What obviously you doing this practice, but even all the other stuff that you're doing and posting about online, I know you have your friends that like are your homies from back in the days, but don't share your views or your values. But when you put yourself on social media, there's still people that maybe aren't your homies, but people you've connected with because you went to like third grade with them, or they're like a third cousin or whatever. Like, what has it just been kind of like people who observe but don't say anything, or people slipping into your DMs, or people commenting on your posts thinking you're insane and crazy? And who are you as a director, a creative person, to be talking about doctor, science, allopathy stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's a range. I mean, my for example, my sister is an allopathic doctor. So obviously we're not talking the same language a lot of the time. It's cool. We're still, she didn't uninvite me to Thanksgiving or anything like that. Like, we still have a good rapport. But yeah, we don't agree on anything. So it's a mix. I like to keep things cordial. I'm not here to argue with anyone. But more and more people are coming around to the things we're talking about, man. It's interesting. Like, my parents are kind of, I don't know, they're semi-open to it. Obviously they tend to side with my sister on, in things of the medical, they defer to her for sure. But it seems like, for example, like, I told them I was down at Confluence doing a stage talk. And they were interested. They're like, cool, like send us some clips. We'd love to see them. Sent them some clips, haven't heard back. So
it must have been the word queef, bro. I think it was the word queef.
It might have been. I don't know how it went over, but I think that, like, especially now that like people are tapping in and people want to hear this stuff and people get a lot of value from it, and it's starting to be reflected back. Like, initially early on, people thought I lost my mind. Especially I had mentioned I was in a relationship. She was like, come on, what's going on here? But like
yeah, I didn't want to be on me. Are you going to want to be on me, Mike?
How did the conversation go when you told your mom, drinking glasses full of your own urine?
I think, well, I got into it because it was during holidays at Christmas with my sister, and I tried to sneak it in because she has a dog, and the dog has like really inflamed paws and stuff, and I was like, I'd probably just dunk that in some urine. She was like, what? And then so I kind of snuck it in there. I like to kind of meet people where they're at. You know what I mean? My mom had actually heard of someone. She had a friend. She has some kind of like Latina friend whose grandmother practices urine therapy because it was like in their lineage still. So sometimes you get like these little things where people are still holding on to it. Or like, for example, it's like kind of mainstream if you're a gardener, like, and have a green thumb that urine can help plants grow. So it's like,
I pee on my trees all the time.
There you go. Do you though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also takes dumps on his trees every now and then.
No, I don't take dumps on my trees. That's a waste product, Joel.
Yeah.
Urine is not a waste product.
Right. Good.
How much self-love would be required to take a spoonful of your own fecal matter?
No, I don't think that's self-love. That might be like self-hatred, like.
Yeah, I'm not that.
Yeah. So fecal matter is definitely a waste product.
I'm pretty sure. I reserve the right to change my mind in a couple of years, but for right now, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Okay. Mikey Poo Cardamone.
Nah, let's not even put it out there. I can't afford it.
No, man, but yeah, I get it. Peeing on trees. Like, what is that? Why is it good to pee on trees? It's like, obviously it's 95% water, but is it also those other ingredients that support it, or is it like?
It's the love, man. It's the love. Okay. It's the energetics. I think they also say it's the nitrogen specifically.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if it was like the nitrogen kind of thing.
Yeah. But but the point I was getting at before with people, like, I feel like more and more people are starting to come around. And I think like a lot of them, like, it's kind of like, for example, with my parents, like cognitive dissonance to be like, wait, there's a crowd cheering for this guy right now. Like we thought he was saying insane things for the last 3 years. And now like there's clapping and applause. Just like, so I don't know, at some point people have to, and people need healing, man. So, people, we gotta clean this place up. So people are generally running out of options. They keep engaging with the allopathic system and hitting a wall, or figuring it out that it's a pyramid scheme. And every time you go there, you got to engage more and more. And people are sick of it. They want actual healing. So we're talking about these things, and at some point they got to take it seriously.
Yeah. What was the feedback after Confluence, man? Because it was, a very unique thing. I mean, it's one of a kind. I've never come across what you do, which is, again, talking about all these things that we post about. And
Right, you were literally on stage, and someone comes up to me and they go, "Do you know where the comedian's speaking?" It's right there.
Really?
Like, oh, that's the comedian. It's like it was like a presentation vibe at that point. Like maybe they'll expect like a straight stand-up set, And
yeah, I think I don't know if people knew what to expect. I don't know what to call it. I don't know how to.
Yeah.
But it is the kind of hybrid, because you're sitting there in your chair and you have whatever, your computer and then the thing behind you, and you're engaging. And yeah, I liked it, man. So anyways, what was the feedback?
The feedback's been great. I mean, I know some people, I had a few walkouts, to your point, Joel, but by and large, it's been really, really, really nice. And actually, I've been really grateful for it, because it's good to get that feedback. Yeah. Like people, I mean, it's also strange because, as you said, I'm up there talking about queefs, and then like I come home and I have messages of people like that, you really gave a gift to us, man. I'm like, sure,
Yeah, but like with all the shit that goes on in the world, like humor is so important. It's something I talk about all the time. I make it a big part of my life. We want to talk about health, real healing. People that are so rigid and so restrictive and so compressed and like not laughing, not enjoying the lightness of life and being silly and playful. And, so like, I feel like more people just need more laughter in their life. Yes, I get it. Like with the work that you do, it can be controversial. And, are you really a good comedian unless people are walking out of your show once in a while? I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like you need to push some buttons, but like, come on, man. Like we're in this, whoa, my mic just fell. We're in this world of all this serious stuff. And it's like, it doesn't always have to be so serious. That's why I love these events.
Subjects.
Then that's why I also love the confluence and like even some of the friendships, like even like our friendship, man. It's like, we can get deep. I know we can get deep. And yet like we choose very often to just have fun and laugh and talk smack to each other. And like, it's like, we need more balance from like the serious and deep and even just like, oh, trauma, so many things have happened to me. And like, where's the balance? Where's the lightness? Where's the play? There's just as I think healing, if not more so, than like staying in that fucking heaviness of life and all that stuff, and there are phases in life, of course, but so I'm appreciative, man, of the work that you do and what you put out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's something Confluence did well in terms of having that balance. And I got that feedback as well, because there's no real good reason why I should be on the same billing as Gerald Pollack. You know what I mean? Like it really doesn't make much sense. So, but to have those two experiences for people to have and choose from.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't make sense if you're looking at it from a very like limited worldview, as opposed to a holistic worldview, to go, hey, you're an educated person. You've done your share of research to look into these subjects. And then you have someone who's like maybe a little bit more academic and who goes deep into like certain subjects. And it's like, it is like that balance. It is like the standing in the tension of opposites and understanding there's a time and a place to explore and laugh and be silly and get deep with the stuff that you do and, geek out on fucking water.
Yeah. And that's something I intentionally do in the work. Like I have a works cited, like there's quotes and citations on things. So it's like, we're having fun. We're transmuting these subjects. We're, doing all those things. We're moving things around. But, I put the homework in. These are actual subjects that we need to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Vader Austin, shout out to Vader. We have an incredible episode with Vader if anyone wants to check that out. Have you like ever explored any of Vader's techniques with urine, like freezing urine, etc., looking for images, symbols?
I haven't personally done her technique, but there's this woman named Fiona Gardner in the UK, and she's actually, you guys know the Bigglesons, right? Did you have them on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, a while back.
Yeah, so she does the microscope work for the Bigglesons for their blood. And kind of like her quote unquote side project, but it's a huge project, is looking at urine under the microscope using the same techniques that she does with the Bigglesons, which is really cool. And she's seeing some really, really, really amazing things with the structures with the urine. Like people have their own unique like crosses in their urine, which is very interesting. Especially because some people like to call it like holy, make that comparison, like it's holy water or like water designed by you with divine intelligence. And then to be seeing crosses in them is super interesting. And they're not like accidental crosses. They're like ornate, like they have like geometric patterns to them. Like they're like beautiful, like almost like Tartarian like looking crosses. And so there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of, she's also found that, like she's tested urine or looked at urine from people who don't consume their urine and versus people who do consume their urine or interact with their urine and practice urine therapy. And she's found that the urine from the people who engage with their water is much more innately structured. It has geometric kind of beautiful designs to it. And then the people who aren't engaging with their urine, the water is much more kind of chaotic, for lack of a better word, or, you know, the structures aren't as nice, aren't as aligned. And so, yeah, there's a lot of interesting work going on with the structures of the urine.
Cool.
What do you recommend? Because I think, again, obviously there's taboo around this, there's conditioning around this, but the main thing that gets people is the smell. You know what I mean? So it's like I, for fun, like had fun once. I tried like through my nostrils, like putting it in a spray bottle and spraying it up my nose once. And I reached out to you. I was like, dude, the smell is kind of there, like for like a day or two, you know?
Well, it's because you probably
they tried it. I'm an experiment with shit. I'm not like so closed off. And then you had told me like, dude, just go on a watermelon fast for like a week or something.
Well, it doesn't have to be that extreme, but the point was that if you, for example, you could just chug a little bit of distilled water and it will be much lighter and less smelling the next round, so to speak. It's largely dependent on what you're eating. So it'll have a much kind of, whatever you want to call that, it'll have more of that smell when you're eating a lot of cooked foods, especially a lot of processed foods, when you're eating a lot of meat, when you're eating a lot of mixtures, when you're eating just dense, for lack of a better word, your urine will be more dense. And so so you can be mindful of that, and you can try to kind of, for example, eat a watermelon, and then the next round it's going to be sweeter and smelling like watermelon. It's a very much a reflection of what you have going on in and around your body. And kind of an interesting kind of offshoot of that train of thought is that diet is kind of the primary thing for most people, just because we're eating a lot and all that kind of stuff. But also I've been deep into urine fasts where I noticed the change or the smell or the taste or the smell would change based on having negative thoughts, for example. So there's a lot going into it. A lot of times the diet is the overwhelming thing just based on our lifestyles, but you know, your thoughts structure it and change it, and your mood and all this kind of stuff, emotional stuff, spiritual stuff. So yeah.
So basically what you were smelling was your thoughts, bro.
Yeah, you got stinky piss thoughts.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
My God. No, I was, I mean, I eat a lot of meat. That's my next question for you. Like, what's your diet?
Well, it seems to go hand in hand, doesn't it? Like urine therapy and kind of fruitarianism or veganism from the conversations I've had previously.
Do you eat meat?
Yeah. Sometimes, very rarely, like significantly 99% less than I used to. I mean, I grew up on a, standard American diet, diner food. Yeah. But yeah, to Joel's point, like the more I've kind of engaged with this, just kind of the way I look at it changes, I try not to look at it as like, I need this thing, I don't need anything. So why am I consuming it? And most of the time I don't have a good reason. Sometimes it's because I want to ground in and, engage with people. Like if we're hanging out, I'll have a meal. But because especially when you start engaging with the urine and doing a lot of fasting, you realize that you kind of eat for reasons that have nothing to do with hunger, whether that's emotional suppression or you have some kind of like, I've had things where it's like I have a craving for this food and then I realize it's attached to this memory from childhood where I was sad and I ate this thing and now like I have this weird unconscious association with it. So you kind of start to learn that we eat for a variety of reasons that we're not necessarily conscious of. And then so a lot of times that's led to me just eating less or, thinking differently about the way I'm eating and how kind of quote dense it is and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because again, so much of this is based on values. Some people value like food and like the sensuality of food, and like I'm a foodie in a lot of ways, so I enjoy that aspect of like, no, I'm eating healthy, but like it's hard for me to be like, man, I'm not. I like eating the things that I enjoy eating, based on my upbringing, whatever, and so like. To be like, oh, I'm going to luke my pee and then eat some fruit occasionally and whatever, like it doesn't, like maybe if I was unhealthy and I had some crazy health issues or didn't love my life or who I was and the things I was doing, maybe I'd be more open to it. And I'm not saying I'm not, because I've tried it, but it's like, it's a lifestyle, man. It's a full on lifestyle where you're just like, this is what I choose. Like I might not enjoy like the home cooked food from someone, or maybe you do, because you said you if you're with friends, you do eat food, but
even like as a generator, it's like, are you lit up by like the chicken gyros or the glass of piss?
Yeah. And it's up to each person to decide that, because a lot of people come to this stuff, whether it's drinking, urine therapy or some other, health protocol, because they've had health issues, they've had issues, and they've like other things haven't worked, and so they try something and it works, and then that becomes like the thing. So did you have health issues? Was it just curiosity where you were like, yeah, people are drinking the pee, I read about it, I'm going to do it? Or was it like, I'm suffering, there's some things that other things I'm trying haven't worked, and now I'm going to try this, and then it did work, and so you're like, I'm rolling with it?
I didn't have anything like chronic that I was trying to heal. I was more kind of intrigued by the idea. And then especially at that time, it was also like, there was something interesting to me about being able to quote unquote, like self-sustain, or like just the idea that you needed much less to survive. Like, especially like during that time, like I said, this was early 2020. So it was like people were prepping and like, pitching, those vats of shitty powder, whatever. And it was like, so it was just interesting to me, like, wait, you mean that I could literally just drink pee and then like, I have no fear about any of this other stuff that's going on in the world right now. So that was kind of part of it. But I also want to make a couple points about what you were talking about, where it's like, people kind of always ask me that all the time. Like, don't you like the taste of food? And it's like, yeah, of course I fucking like the taste of food. Like I grew up just like everyone else. You think I never had fucking guacamole? Like it tastes delicious. I get it. But it's like, also, like the more I kind of just experimented with the kind of cleansing and fasting, like I just felt so good. And then once I returned to eating certain things that I ate in the past, it was kind of like, yeah, this is awesome for 15 minutes or whatever, but like I feel better without it in the long run. So there was a kind of a reframing in that way. And then to your point also, though, Yerasimos, because I think this is a really big point. Because, especially if we start talking about breatharianism and all this stuff, like people really freak out. And there's still a beauty and to the point of we're putting intention into things and structuring things. And there's the waters of the food we eat and the intention of a home cooked meal. All of that matters. So like what you're talking about is like, if someone's putting a lot of love and intention into what you're consuming, that's going to do a lot less quote unquote damage to your vessel than whatever else. I mean, someone who's strict and dogmatic about a diet and carrying that energy, right? Like that fucking guy, like Brian Johnson or whatever, who's, he's like, looks like a zombie almost. So that's super important to what you're saying. And I do value that. It's just for me, like having been on both sides, like I kind of just feel better the kind of lighter I'm staying. And then every once in a while I'll enjoy some density, but I don't want to make that my like routine or habit,
Well, what you're saying something that I really appreciate, and you're giving the argument that I've given for years around coffee. because so many people have never experienced life off of coffee or caffeine. And that when you do experience both sides of the coin, you have a much different perspective. So it's like people would come up to me and say certain things. I'm like, well, have you been off coffee for 6 months, for 3 months, for a year? And they'd be like, no. And I'd be like, well, then shut the fuck up. You don't know, you don't have perspective, And it's like, I didn't drink coffee for 11 years. And then last year, my birthday, Joel was visiting, and we had a gathering at our home. And then
You helped him slip, dude?
No, he didn't help me slip. But
I wasn't even drinking coffee at the time.
No. He didn't help me slip. I'm just using it for perspective because he was there.
Okay.
And we had one of our large gatherings at our home. And then the next day we went to get some food and at Air One.
It was Alyssa.
We went, and then I went, no, she didn't tell me to get coffee.
Alyssa wanted a latte at Air One. And then you were like, oh, no, I'll get one.
I was like, I'll get one. So I had a latte for the first time and on 3 hours of sleep. And then I ended up drinking coffee a lot for a couple months. And then I went off of it. And then maybe now I'll have one every 6 months, And again, this is in the last year, So anyways, I bring this up because you have perspective, you know what I mean? And so I honor you for being I know what my life is like when I'm indulging more or eating food and when I'm not, and it can work for you. And again, health is so individual as well. It's not I think there's foundational principles, but even from a human design standpoint, there are different digestion types or different things that people can do that might support them better. So I think even with what you do, for some people, drinking peas, bam, I'm on it. I feel more spiritually lit up, etc. And for other people, it may not have the same exact impact. It may have a positive impact, but it may not have the same exact where they're listen, I'm saying no to food. Peace. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you say no to food, but Confluence, you pretty much weren't eating much, right?
No, I had some coconuts, but other than that, I was.
Which is, listen, as someone observing, man, it's a testament, because I don't look at you and go, man, Mike looks tired all the time. Mike could barely keep up from a conversation standpoint or even a wittiness standpoint. You don't seem tired, you don't seem emaciated. You look healthy. So
a little yellowy in the skin, but
yeah, a little yellowy around the eyes right now. Oh wait, those are your glasses. But yeah, but so it's just interesting, man, because it's full on. We're probably not getting as much sleep at Confluence. You're whatever, sleeping in a tent often or camping and talking a lot and using a lot of energy, and yet you still come across as being vital. So that's a data point. You know what I mean? So there's something to say about that.
Yeah. And to your point, I kept having experiences where, for example, I was cleaning out and fasting a little bit and then went back to the food and got punched in the face by it and oh, I felt like shit now. So I have to, let me assess that information. Right. And and the same kind of thing where you're talking about, where it's yeah, I'm seeing him. He's not eating much. He's going on stage. We're chopping it up. But so then you just have to now take in the information. If we're being unbiased, maybe we derive energy from other sources that aren't necessarily food, which I think is true. And I don't think it's even that controversial. You know what I mean? When we're chopping it up and hanging out and having a good time, we're not thinking about eating food. We're energized by the dynamics of that.
Well, the material is downstream from something else. Even right. From a health standpoint, my views on health, and even being into German new medicine, Dr. Heimer's work, and et cetera, there's things going on that are impacting you and impacting how your body adapts, et cetera, beyond just, oh, I eat healthy all the time, and that's I'm going to live, people eat healthy all the time and get cancer and heart disease and whatever the case may be. So there's something beyond that. And so
does this vary between men and women? Because there's so many conversations and studies fasting isn't ideal for women, isn't ideal for their cycle, isn't ideal for a number of things, etc.
Yeah. So, maybe we'll get women yelling at me because I'm a male and I can't speak from experience, but I'm pretty sure the urine is an excellent hack for this kind of thing, because you're engaging with that hormone therapy and it's balancing you back out. It's kind of giving you homeostasis by default. You're almost filling in whatever deficiencies, and everything's kind of leveling out when you're drinking the urine, especially kind of looping it. So I think that is, because I have heard those concerns from women in terms of fasting, and especially in regards to hormones. And I think that engaging with the urine while you're doing other things is an extraordinary assistance.
Well, what is looping? Because just for those that don't understand the term, which you've raised a couple of times.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't make it up. It's kind of like whatever popular in those circles. It just means you're, for all intents and purposes, everything you're putting out in terms of urine, you're putting back in, and you're just creating this loop.
Okay, let me ask you this. So, from like a intelligence of the body standpoint, if the urine is so valuable, why isn't it holding onto it?
Well, you can think of it like in a similar way where this is not framing it as a waste product, but maybe framing it as an excess product. For example, and also a pressure system in terms of the water, right? Like we have too much water in here right now. Let's release some of the pressure. And also, given that there's information and all these different components of quote unquote nutrition, for lack of a better word, maybe it's an excess channel where we can use this again later. We're good right now. We're going to spill some of it out. Let's reuse it in various ways later. So it's not getting rid of it because it's wasteful, but maybe it's getting rid of it because there's an intelligence that knows we're going to be reusing this.
Interesting. Or your tree needs it, so give it to your tree.
Or your tree needs it, yeah.
Yeah.
It can be used.
Are you working on a book right now?
What is the...
Oh, you go.
Yeah. What is the esoteric significance of urine? Like, is there like the history, mythology, like ancient, whatever it might be that speaks into this?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every culture was engaging with it. I mean, maybe the most popular in the kind of urine circles would be the Shivambu Kalpa text, which is an ancient Sanskrit text. And it's very explicit in all the things that it can be used for and healed. But literally, Rome, ancient China, Renaissance period, quote unquote, Middle Ages, even as there's books from England in the 1800s, even scientific medical journals, referencing this pretty recently. So it's really spanning across time.
The Greeks? Did the Greeks?
The Greeks did, dude. Hippocrates recommended urine for specifically tuberculosis and gonorrhea. And so, which is interesting because people love quoting Hippocrates, right? Like, let medicine be your food and let food be your medicine. And he's often cited, but people are neglecting his lesser known quotes, paraphrasing being, drink piss if you have the clap. People don't know that Hippocrates was saying that.
You could also kind of mix up his quote or like take his quote and say, let urine be your food and urine be thy medicine, bro.
There you go. Because I don't even know if that's a direct quote anyway. Isn't that like paraphrased from some text?
There's a lot of things are attributed to people and maybe just loosely
exactly
work and not an exact quote. I mean,
yeah, who knows? So allegedly, the Greeks were also getting into it.
And so can we explore a bit deeper? Like what is the extent that you are using urine in your practice? Like, I know people that like age like canisters and bathe in it. Is like, are we at that level? Where are we at?
Do you like put pyramids over your like aged urine, and then dance around it? And then
I do sometimes put them in crystalline vases and stuff.
I've heard stories of people like snorting like mason jars worth.
Yeah. I drink through my nose. I drink through my nose. I also have like a spray thing. Like I was telling Yerasimos about that because we were talking about nasal stuff. So yeah, I snort it up there. I put it in my eyes, my ears. I put it on my ass. I wash my hair with it. I rub it on my face. You name it.
I was going to say there's a particular very unique curve to the quiff currently experienced on the.
Yeah, this is all urine. This is no products.
Wait, so is it like urine enemas when you say you put it up your ass? Like, just to be more specific, as opposed to you're just like trying to open up your butthole and pour some urine in there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's urine enemas. Urine enemas for sure.
Gotcha. What, you're writing a book on this, right?
Yeah. So I'm working on a couple of things. I'm working on one that's called "You Are Full of Snot," which is like branded under the Don't Slap Snooze stuff. So it's kind of like a collection of jokes about bowel cleansing specifically. So there's sections in that about like fruit fasting and enemas, and also a little bit on urine. And then separately, Amanda Vollmer and I are working on something that's urine specific. Yeah.
We had her on whenever that was last year, I think, and we kind of went into this subject a little bit. We're going a little bit more deep into it now with you, which is cool. What do you find is challenging with, obviously, like, you know, you live a life that's a little bit more I would say unusual. I mean, I'm just being honest. Is it unusual? Like,
No, I don't take offense. I like it.
People eat food, like, because I'm being serious now as opposed to like talking shit. Because then I'd be like,
I know it's hard. That's just what I meant. I can't take you serious as a podcast, so
Yeah.
I'm expecting. I'm just waiting for it to come back around.
But
Right, continue.
you have more of an unusual life and daily protocols, and so how does that impact like your like desire for a relationship and dating? Like, I'm assuming you would want to find someone who's also a Shimbambu practitioner, or practitioner is kind of weird, but like someone who, you know, this is part of their habits, because it'd be kind of, I would think someone who's not into it would be maybe repulsed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not mandatory or anything, but it certainly makes life easier far and away. Yeah, like I have explicit experience with this. I mean, I started doing it when I was in a relationship, and she was none too pleased. I mean, she was really fucking repulsed by it. So it became a problem, honestly. So yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm very upfront about it now, is because, you know, like you said, I have a pretty weird life, and I have to lead with that ahead of time. Because like to the point before, where we still have friends, you know, from back home and that kind of stuff. Like I joke around with them about like, what am I going to have a Tinder bio that says, you know, I drink, piss, sleep on the floor, and don't own a TV? Like that eliminates 99.9%.
I was literally going to ask you, what is your Tinder bio?
Yeah, exactly. So I can't be going on Tinder and do it. So I don't know. I'm just kind of
It'd be interesting if you actually were that truthful, like, this is not a joke, this is me. And then someone might be like into it, and then you get swipe right. You know?
Well, the thing about it is because I'm upfront about it, and then, you know, we hang out with the kind of people we hang out, like the resonance is starting to come into my field, where people are attracted in that are like, the resonance matches, you know what I mean? It's a frequency thing. That's why the last relationship had to end, because we were on different frequencies and the resonance wasn't there anymore. But now I think I'm starting to draw in people like you two idiots, who are more aligned and able to have these conversations. And that applies to romantic relationships. Like, you know,
well, imagine like you withheld it, like full, you know, went on dates, seduced, etc., moved in together. Then she just like walks in the bathroom and like sees you like pissing in a cup. You know, it's like,
you already got intimate, like you bonded, you know, sexual intercourse. Like she's like, Mike, I just want you to know I love you. And then you're like, I love you too. And then it's like,
but yeah, you finish like, oh, I don't go pee, babe. And like, she just happens to stumble in the bathroom, and like, you just
like, what are you doing using the toilet? That's whack. No, I mean, it would never happen anymore. I would never be in a position where that would happen without, which is cool. And what's really kind of crazy is that like, the more kind of open I am about it, like, for example, going on Alex's podcast and we were talking about it, there's like women in the comments who are like, think it's attractive. So it's really kind of bizarre. Like, I wish someone told me like in middle school that all I had to do is start drinking piss and talking about shit in my pants on public podcasts, and I would be more attractive.
Wait, you shit your pants?
Sometimes.
It's a waste product though.
That's a waste product. I don't save the pants.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, I'm not going to say it. Yeah.
Well, go on, say it.
Bro, I love you, bro. I just love you, man. I mean, I just like.
No, I was going to say like golden showers aren't a new phenomenon. Like, it's not like.
No, it's not. You know, I won't.
I don't even think about it sexually like that. Really, no, it's not. Because I think people assume that also. Like, people think it's like a kink because they're fucking addicted to porn. But that's not how my mind thinks.
Those are separate things. Because I feel like a lot of the sexual component of it is not like the health stem cell.
Right.
What if
it's more of
like it's stem cells?
Well, it's more of. I think it's more about like, it's like a power dynamic and like wanting to be demeaned and wanting.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not in that world, but
I'm just.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
My observations and psychological analysis.
Yeah. Not from personal experience.
No. Anyways, continue.
What were you saying, Joe?
Well, I was going to say, So like, is there anything other than piss that defines you?
I guess not.
Comedy.
I guess
bro.
that's what
We've
we
been talking
learned
about
today,
comedy.
man. I'm very two-dimensional.
Comedy and pee.
Those are two big components.
Yeah.
What-
What makes you really unique?
Before we were chatting about, energy and being energized in like different kind of ways and different means, like what is energy from your perspective?
Whew, that's a good question. God, I mean, whatever that kind of source is for people. For me, it's God. But that's reflected in all sorts of things. When we get into these kinds of conversations of like, maybe we're getting energy from other food, maybe we're getting it from music, maybe we're getting it from frequency, maybe we're getting it from the sun. And obviously God is in all of these things. It's a tough question to answer, but I just feel like breath is a huge component of it. That kind of is God, right? Like what they say about Yahweh in Hebrew, where it's just the YHWH, which is just an inhale and an exhale, a breath. So, God breathed life into us. And then that gets into things where we're talking about eliminating dense food and clearing out your bowels. And now you have more space to breathe and expand, and what that does in terms of what frequencies you're bringing in. And I don't know. It's kind of a rant now.
Can you like, have you had, like, speaking in that essence, like, have you had like any psychedelic like experiences through urine?
Yeah, for sure. It gets kind of trippy, especially like deep into fast. I've told this story before, so I'll kind of top line it. But I was like about 3 weeks into a urine fast, and I had to go to a wedding, which I was just a +1 at. And so I went to this wedding, and it was just very apparent that I and the rest of the entire wedding were not on the same frequency. I was very deep into this urine fast, and to your point, it was getting kind of trippy, where like things were. I mean, I think you guys have done psychedelics where you just kind of weird stuff. It's just weird, you know what I mean? That feeling of kind of that surreal feeling. And so I was at this wedding, and like I was like getting kind of like visions of people being cadavers, like they were kind of just dead and walking around and like filled with shit and stinking, every single woman had perfume on. And when deep into a fast like that, your senses are very heightened. Like I could smell like a dog, and I could hear everything. So it was just this kind of big kind of like trip I had at this wedding, where like I was seeing people as these kind of like half living beings that were just doused with perfume. And it was like when someone dies and then like a funeral home like just puts makeup on them and like kind of paints their face, and you're looking at them, it's like something's weird about it, like you just feel it. I was just feeling that like times 200 people.
Wow.
And I had this kind of weird trip at this wedding, to your point.
Dude, thanks for sharing that. It's fascinating. It is, because I want to share a personal story that's somewhat related. But first, I want to say, did the person who had you as their +1, did they know that you were in the middle of a urine fast and that like you'd be their +1 and just be kind of chilling there, having a psychedelic experience while she got drunk with the rest of the 199 people?
Well, to the point of relationships having to end, it was the part
that was
an issue.
+1 to your ex, and not just like a random +1 of some person who was like, hey,
yeah.
at the wedding.
So she was upset that I wasn't able to fit in, let's say.
Yeah. So about 15 years ago, I went to a wedding, and I wasn't drinking. So I came to a wedding, and it was a lot of old like college friends and friends of friends, some people I hadn't seen for a while. And it was so interesting, like just being there and like just seeing like the beginning part where no one's drunk yet.
Yeah.
And people are like just quiet in their own little worlds, and then like maybe they knew you from 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever, but then like it's too early in the wedding, and and then I just observed, as the only sober person there, just like people getting more drunk. And like I had a similar experience, maybe not like a urine induced, like more psychedelic, but enough of just like observing people then, like these people that were like ignoring me in the beginning, like, oh my God, it's so, see, what?
Bro, we can't hear you. We can't, the mic cuts out when you go that high.
Oh, I'm saying like, oh my God, like I haven't seen you in forever. Like, when are we gonna hang out? Oh my God, we had so much fun. Remember, like fucking in college and blah, 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 And so, it was very interesting to observe that, and then to reflect back, like, I'm that, I was that, I'm seeing how I am at these parties or these weddings, and you're like, it's even more of like this, like, ugh, you know, it just reaffirmed my desire. Now, I think after that, at that time, I was probably like maybe a year off or 6 months off. And then I started drinking a little bit here and there again. And it wasn't until like 11 years ago that I just was like, I don't really like this stuff. But still, even then, that played into this. What's the point of even drinking? You know, and like, it didn't serve me at all. Like, not the best. Yeah, it felt very low frequency, low vibration. Like, I don't think people drink and then like the most conscious, aware, healthy aspects of them come out, you know? So it feels very like, yeah, it's like what you said with the urine. Like, everyone looked at these cadavers, and it's almost like people feel like these like hedonist fucking demons. Ah.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you've seen In Shadows by Me Ass Off, but you know, that kind of animation comes to mind for sure.
I mean, yeah, his animation, his work is so good. Check it out if you haven't yet. Two short films that have kind of gone viral. I think one was the first one, 2017, and then the other one was 2023. It's Kingdom was one of them. Was being kind of passed around. People were passed around.
That was last year.
Last year, and then the other one, which was, why am I forgetting? In Shadows. Yeah, check it out. You'll dig it, I think.
Yeah, I'll check it out. But yeah, that's exactly right, man. You know, the mirrors kind of become very intense, and it's good to have that feedback, like you're saying, to reconsider things. And yeah, but I also want to make the point to Joel's question, because I gave a quote unquote negative example, although it's not negative because we have these kinds of insights from them. But the kind of overall kind of, for lack of a better word, hallucinogenic effect is very positive, like the kind of sense of joy. And because there are trace amounts of DMT in the urine. I don't know, you know, it's not like you're tripping all the time, but if you do it consistently over time, I think you're kind of, I have experienced a very exponential increase in joy, to the point of the question earlier. Looking back 5 years ago, I was not as consistently joyful as I am now. So that part of it is very positive, just to kind of balance it out.
What's the 101 of getting started here? Like, what would Mike's basic guide for dummies to getting started with urine therapy? Like, would it be like a glass in the morning, like just pissing in the cup first in the morning, testing that out? Like, what would it be?
Dude, he wants people to buy his book, bro. Come on, it's coming out. You know, he's like, pre-order now on Amazon.
No Amazon.
Yeah, I know.
We do it by hand.
Set you up for that. I knew you were going to say no Amazon.
I mean, I would try to approach people where they're at. For example, like to the point of me talking to friends from back home, you know, maybe one dude has crazy athlete's foot that he can't get rid of. And so he's open to the idea of soaking his feet in urine.
So like a listener right now is interested. Where do they get started?
I mean, just start with a couple drops under the tongue, because that's kind of getting into this idea of like even the urine having a homeopathic effect, where you're getting that information and you're just opening up the door to this line of communication that is this kind of unique intuitive medicine that's coming from you. So whatever people are comfortable with, don't have a bad experience. Mm-hmm. So just go at whatever rate feels comfortable to you. And that's another point, is because people tend to ask for a protocol, even in these kinds of, you know, alternative health spaces where we still have these vestiges of like the programming of, I'm used to having a doctor give me this prescription that says I take 2 of these pills 2 times a day, 7 days a week. And they want this kind of protocol. And this, you have to throw that out of the window with this. You have to be open to having an intuitive relationship with it. And it's not going to go at a pace you're uncomfortable with. So you're going to just go at whatever pace is comfortable. Whether that's putting a couple of drops under your tongue, whether that's putting a splash of it in some juice so that it doesn't taste as crazy right away, Yerasimos. And then, so now you can engage with it because it's kind of masked in a way, but you're still getting that information. So whatever feels right. I'm a guy who, I'm like you guys have mentioned, I'm doing wild stuff over here. So I started chugging it right away and doing wild stuff, but that's not for everyone. That's just what I'm set up that way for whatever reason. So do whatever is comfortable. And because of the nature of the medicine that it's coming from you and has information in it based on all these things we're finding out, you're going to go at your own pace. That's comfortable. Just open the door, however it makes sense to you.
Some people say to just let like your urine run for a bit and then take it after. But do you not agree with that? You know, like
What do you mean run?
Like pee for a bit before you then like fill up like a jar or something. Let the initial whatever they say.
The initial waters.
Yeah. I know what you're referencing. I don't know if that's a myth or not, but that is like, I don't know, common lore in the urine therapy community. They call it like the middle catch, where it's like they say you're supposed to let the first bit out and then catch the middle, the clean catch, they call it, and then let some out at the end. I don't do it, and I haven't noticed any difference. I think the kind of theory behind it is that, like, I don't know, you're letting out some of the stagnation that was in the front of it or something. But even to me, that has a little bit of like the germ theory kind of thoughts to it, where it's like, I don't know, there's some bacteria in the beginning and then let that out. And now this is the clean part and this is the dirty part. So that is said, you know, that is a thing that people recommend in practice. I don't pay any attention to it. So I'm not sure if it's a myth or not.
Okay, real quickly, because Joel brought it up before, like the esoteric, more ancient elements of it. So beyond the physical, in your research, what has come up like from these ancient cultures that have partaken in urine therapy, like that has been kind of interesting to you?
I mean, I guess the most interesting part is kind of just the breadth of the use for it. Like, you know, pretty much any disease. And then, like, for example, in Rome, they were using it for laundry. Like, it was just the expansiveness of what the substance can be used for is quite impressive, you know, throughout history. And then there are also kind of more esoteric components to it, which I'm not super well versed in, but I can at least, you know, throw some breadcrumbs out for people to follow, which is like this idea of it being gold and like a kind of alchemy perspective. And there are people who like think the sediment on the bottom when you age it is monoatomic gold and this kind of thing. And there's also the whole idea of the philosopher's stone. Like I've heard people talk about how the philosopher's stone was actually made of urine. And so there is a lot of kind of like alchemical, esoteric kind of vibe information floating around there. I'm not super well versed in it, but I think there's, you know, it does make a lot of intuitive sense to me.
Bro, you're writing a book and you're not super well versed in it? What the fuck?
Well, I can't in good conscience come on here and be talking like I'm an alchemist.
I get it.
What is like the book on urine therapy that people...
I feel like there's like a solid like top three. I would say Martha Christie's book, John Armstrong's book, which is called The Water of Life. That kind of has like the most testimonials probably. Martha Christie's book is called Your Own Perfect Medicine, I think. And then there's another one by this Dutch guy. I forget his name offhand.
Of course, it's a Dutch guy.
Yeah. But there's kind of...
It's like, I think it's called The Golden Fountains of Life.
Yeah, it is The Golden Fountain. That's right. The Golden Fountain.
Right.
That's actually a really good one because it's kind of a good overview. It's kind of general about a bunch of stuff, the history, the different uses. And that's a good kind of like all, you know, not specific, a general one.
All right, we're done with the fuck off our podcast.
I know. It's been, what do we got here, man? No,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go, dude.
Yeah, we're at like 60, 70 minutes, man. It's nice. It's nice. We'll keep going. I was just messing with you. There's something else I wanted to ask you. I'm forgetting right now. Maybe I just want to sit in silence with you.
Yeah, let's just feel the energy.
Let's integrate what we
feel it in our balls.
Yes, feel in our balls, you know, that are going to be filled up with, I don't even know if they are filled up with urine. I don't
think they are. I think
comes
we lied to about that too.
Yeah. So okay, you can drink it, like just say like you're in the shower and you're just peeing and you can like pee on your...
I can pee in my own mouth, if that's what you're getting at. Yeah, in the shower I do sometimes pee in my own mouth.
I mean, like you could
learn like legit.
Yeah, like an ape.
Oh wow. So you so you can shower, like, you know, you're showering and maybe you put some on you and then you like what, rub your face or put it in your hair, or like, or do you have like a different, more specific protocol where you like save it and then you age it for a while and then the aged urine you like snort up your nose or you bathe with it? I know some people are really into it. Like you have a friend here in LA, Eric Casano, who's really into urine therapy and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's all of it. It depends. There's also kinds of schools of thought where like the age can be like for more chronic things, and then the fresh can be for like more immediate things, right? Like to the point of this kind of still being in the mainstream consciousness, like people know that if you get stung by a jellyfish, you can pee on it right away. So like, so there's schools of thought that like for something acute or for something that just happened immediately, the fresh is more beneficial. So for like, I put fresh on burns, for example, because the kind of thought is that that information is ready to go. And then the aged is more kind of deep work. And that's kind of a generalization. I mean, I think there's probably both in each, but so that you can approach it like that. So, but to answer the question, I'm doing all of it. I'm saving some. I'm using fresh for all sorts of things. I'm using aged for all sorts of things.
If you're in partnership, can you drink your partner's urine?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and if you want to get fucking esoteric, guys, there's all sorts of kind of information about, you know, spiritual protections, working with your partner's waters and stuff. So yeah, that's an intimate thing to engage with someone else's water and consciousness and blood. So yeah, you can step into that for sure, but I would be very cautious with it. You know, I wouldn't be meeting someone at a bar and doing golden showers. That's not what it's about. That's not the energy. That's not the energy. I would be comfortable doing it with when I'm in, you know, a committed communion, yeah, with someone, yeah, that I am tapped in with.
Sophie, you listening to this? No.
Well, I'm talking to you.
Next compliments, bro. We can share a tent. It's 11:11 right now in California, guys. Oh my God.
Oh man, angels.
Oh my God, angels.
1:11 for me, so still pretty good. God bless.
12:11 for Joel. He's not important. We are.
Yikes! I got that 2 in there, dude.
Jesus. You should not drink your urine, bro. It's not.
No. Get the next one. Wait for 333.
Yeah. What are you excited?
Okay.
I was just gonna get a little further. Like, what are you excited about with life right now? Like, what's going on for you? Like, what are you fulfilled by?
I mean, I'm real excited about life right now, man. I feel like I'm kind of turning a corner a little bit. Like a lot of this was difficult, you know, being able to give up on the job, give up on throwing away a lot of that, take big risks, get rid of the relationship, get rid of the house, all the things, take big risks. And now I'm kind of just starting to see the corner turn. Like that, you know, that stage talk at Confluence was a big deal for me to have hundreds of people enjoying what I'm doing, because it's been kind of a grind to not get a lot of feedback, to risk a lot of money and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm just getting going, and I'm feeling really grateful and good.
Yeah.
What does the evolution of Don't Slap Snooze look like? What's that vision?
Well, I want to keep building out this show, for lack of a better word, keep upping the production value. For me, like for the most part, I consider myself a writer, and that's what I enjoy the most. So I'm very, like, in terms of what you guys saw, you know, it was very intentional with the setups and the structures and the weaving together. And so I love doing that. That's kind of where I get joy from. So the more I can focus on just creating interesting material that I know other people aren't creating, just keep expanding it, man. Hopefully bigger audiences, just for the simple fact that it's a real joy to get the feedback that people are laughing, that people are thinking differently. So yeah, that's kind of the reward of it. Just more.
Yeah, man. I can't wait for you to open up for Louis C.K. next time, bro.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, you know, he opened up for me at Confluence. That's why I missed his set.
Who did?
That's true. I was before you.
Oh, yeah.
That's why everyone was so depressed when I started performing.
Yeah, you really had to bring the energy back.
I was going to ask a question. I wanted to ask this earlier, actually, but you did bring it up. Like, I got mad respect for you because, you know, the industry that you were in and being a director, you know, like you're getting compensated pretty well. And so to say no to that and to go on your hero's journey in a very completely different capacity, and to deal with all the stuff that comes up from like challenging your beliefs and kind of leaving that aspect of your identity behind. Like, man, it's most people don't do it. It's like I say often, man, there's a reason why there's like not a lot of whistleblowers, because people don't have the psycho-emotional fortitude to navigate that levels of inconvenience, and very often pain that comes when they kind of just go, okay, what I've been doing for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years of my life and what my identity is built around, I don't identify with that anymore, and I can't keep doing it. And especially when you start like calling things out. So man, kudos to you for, kind of saying no to a very, very lucrative path, because you were still somewhat early in your path as a director, but like, it's a very financially rewarding path if you continued on with that. So, much respect, man, for honoring that deeper inner calling and not going against your personal convictions and who you believe you are as a person. So I want to highlight that, man, because it's rare.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, it was kind of just the perfect storm of like everything lined up where, because like you said, I was still relatively early on, right? I was 7, 8 years in or whatever, and people have been doing it 30, 40. But I was fortunate enough to get into a situation where I kind of, for lack of a better term, was able to kind of climb the ladder quick, where I realized like, because they always are dangling something over your head, right? The Super Bowl commercial, or go work with these celebrities or whatever. And I was able to check those off early. And then once I was at the quote unquote mountaintop, I was going, this mountain fucking sucks. Every mountain is a lie. So I might as well pull the parachute now. I met the celebrities, and these people are not cool. So what's the point of any of it? And then also the storm of, sure, the pay is good, but I'm exhausted, man. This is draining me, so I'm not happy. And then everything else lined up where I was able to start kind of engaging with these kinds of medicines that we're talking about that dissipated some of the fear, where it was like, all right, let's see what happens. I'm still figuring that out, but I guess we're going in the right direction.
Definitely going in the right direction, man, because it's like when you think about when you say yes to yourself and you no longer betray yourself, like what comes of it? It's like when you think about your life and the relationships that you have and the work that you're doing since you made the decision, man, like the proof's in the fucking pudding. You know what I mean? You made a choice. You like yourself more. You have a greater community. You're being seen and appreciated for your gifts in a different way. And like you said, man, like you do your work in front of, however many hundreds of people, and, where does it go from here? So, yeah, man, I'm just grateful that you're a friend. I'm grateful to know you, and I can't wait to make fun of you more and more in the future.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I thought we were about to kiss the screen, dog. No, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I feel the same way about you.
Thanks, bro.
Just try to leave the podcast at this point in time.
You might as well log off. Log off. We have a separate Zoom link.
I'll just move myself to the waiting room for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, come back in 10. We'll be quick.
Dope, bro. Dope. What are you thinking, Yerasimos? What are you thinking here?
I don't know. It's totally part of me that wants to no, they could just go watch your stuff on YouTube. I'm not YouTube. Well, you're probably on YouTube as well, right? Have you been deleted off of it like we have like 3 years ago?
Some of them have. A few of them have been deleted off YouTube, and I'm not like super active on it. It is on there, but some are deleted. All of them are on my site.
How did you first kind of venture into this world? Like, was the initial connection through Alec? Like, whose content were you looking at? Like, how did you kind of find yourself at somewhere like, Confluence to begin with?
Yeah. Alpha Vedic for me, Mike Winter. Yeah. Because I was listening to their podcast, and I had joined whatever calls they had going on. And so I got to know Mike, and then, I just gave him the perspective of like, that was probably at the time I probably had just quit my job. And I was like, gave him just the context of like, I was doing this thing. I could probably help you in some capacity. So let me know if you ever want any help. And we started working on some of the summits together. And then I got looped in with Alec, and then Winter, Alec, and I and a bunch of other people started working on the end of COVID stuff together and helped them with the branding for that. So I was kind of like figuring out how to use these skills I was using over here, give them to the people I'm seeing in this space that I'm engaging with their content anyway. So maybe let me engage a little bit more. And then, we just all became friends. And then, then they saw the work I was doing because I was doing the videos at those times. So I would send them to them, and that was reassuring too, because it's crazy to me. Like, for example, with Alpha Vedic, I have shirts that say viruses don't cause diarrhea, Denny's does, which is from one of the bits on the stage talk I did and in one of the videos. But it's crazy to me to see like Winner talking to Bear on their podcast, and he's wearing my shirt, and Bear is talking about like the logical validity of the point I'm making by saying viruses, you're making fun of Denny's giving people diarrhea. So it's been really cool because I got more of that feedback first from like then having an audience. It was more like people like Alec and Winner that are like, oh, dude, this is great. And it was like, all right, so if they think it's great, I just got to keep going for a little while. So that was good as well.
Yeah, you get those like moments while you're on the path where you get those like affirmations, like,
Yeah.
and it's like a lot of times you don't need it, but it's also nice. I mean, we're human beings. So to like put something out there and to get feedback from peers and people we respect, it's like, okay, cool. Like, that's dope.
Yeah. And I certainly had a ton of doubt. And like I said, I was in a relationship at the time, and she's looking at me like, what the fuck do you mean you're pursuing the most niche comedy that literally no one in Earth wants right now? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's not a good business move. We're on the same page about that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, because no one's doing it and you're doing it, like, who knows in 5 years, in 10 years, like where things are going to be, what the zeitgeist is going to be. And it's like, Mikey P, Cardamone, like,
I think you should have listened to your girl, bro.
Well, I mean, those thoughts crept in, man. They were tough to.
But it's natural. It's natural to do that. There's so much conditioning, parental, cultural, and like the pressure sometimes to go along to get along and to get validation. But that's what separates, a heroic individual versus someone who's not, who's comfortable with the status quo, and who 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now may live with regret and may be like, I coulda, shoulda. And, so, and like, it's like back to what I said before and about my arguments with coffee and then your thing around urine therapy. It's like, you're on the other side. You've experienced it. You've experienced what it's like to be the director and to work in the commercials and the celebrities. So like, you can do all this and then one day be like, you know what? I want to go back to that. I'm not saying that you will, but because you have more awareness and you have experience with both sides of it. You know what I mean? And so, for other people, they haven't. They're still kind of walking that Main Street path. They don't know what it would be like to answer that inner calling and to step into more of the unknown and the uncertainty and see what life is like. But like, that's where the beauty, that's where the magic lies. That's pretty much the ethos of Joel and myself and Year for the Truth. Is becoming who you were born to be and walking that authentic path and living a heroic life and building the self-esteem necessary for you to be able to do all these things and then to see the fruits of your labor and to be like, man, I went through some shit. My girlfriend, my family thinks I'm crazy. My friends kind of do too. And yet here I am loving myself more. And I have an amazing community of peers and friends and people I look up to who respect me and honor me. And so all the other shit is noise because, again, what's the state of your life? How do you feel about yourself? That's the most important thing. Like, fuck the haters. They're always going to be fucking out there hating. But at the end of the day, you look in the mirror and you go, man, this is cool. I like what I do. You know what I mean? And like, you just keep doing your thing. And then you see the magic continuing to happen in your life. So it's just, that's only been my experience, is just you answer the call, you make a choice, you do something maybe a little different than what most people have done before. And then you see your life unfold in pretty miraculous and beautiful ways. Not without challenges, but that's what it means to be human. Do you face the challenges of your life, and what do you do with that?
I mean, that was really eloquent and well said, man. I didn't think you had that in you.
Well, sometimes once in a while it comes out.
No, exactly. Seriously, that was beautiful.
That's a clip, bro. We got to throw that clip in.
He had a couple homeopathic doses of Pierce straight right before he jumped on this podcast.
I did. Well, actually,
I did.
But that is a new way. I don't think I've heard of it that way. Like, just to get started, like just get the frequency, do a couple, because that's like a nice entry point for people.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
people aren't as hardcore as you, where they're just gonna like, chug their pee. So if you want to go into it, and again, I'm not sitting here one way or the other saying anyone listening to this should do it or not do it. You're an individual, decide for yourself. But if, this person in front of us right now, Mike, who we're interviewing, like if he's shared information with you that has piqued your curiosity, there's many different entry points. So I'm sure you could also send him a quick message on Instagram at Don't Slap Snooze, and maybe he'll respond back to you. I don't know.
I might, but that it's also like, I think
if you're cute and you like to drink your pee, you'll probably be more likely to respond back to you.
Hold on, I got a point. There's an initial hurdle that in people's heads is more, it's a bigger deal than they think it is. Cause I've had tons and tons of people come back and say, once the first sip is down, now they have no problem with it. And now they're, you know what I mean? So it's really about taking the first step. Just get your foot in the door, whatever that is, whether it's a few drops or whatever it is. And again, now that you have the experience and you're on the other side, people are surprised constantly how easy it is to keep engaging.
Can I ask you another question? Like for some people, they prefer cold drinks versus warm drinks. And so like pee, obviously when it comes out is warm. And so can you put it in the fridge and like just kind of...
I mean, you can. I wouldn't, but you can.
Why wouldn't you?
I guess I like warm drinks. It's the perfect temperature in my opinion. It's body temperature. Like your body loves the temperature of urine. It uses it right away. Because I think it's harder to kind of assimilate like a super icy liquid, But if people like that, yeah, do whatever you got to do, I guess. But I don't. But there's nothing like, I don't know if I would freeze it, because that might kind of, in the same way, like heating something to a super high temperature kind of denatures it in a way. So I would stay away from extremes, but yeah.
Okay. Any final messages for our audience?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot.
Great. How many of those books behind you have you read, or are you in the library, or is this your...
This is digital, dude. I could put my hand right through this.
Great. Okay.
Bro, thank you so much for hanging out the past 90 minutes, man. We definitely appreciate it. How can our audience, I guess, find you? Don'tSlapSnooze.net is where the videos are, and Instagram is Don't Slap Snooze as well.
Yeah, those are probably the two best places. And then, yeah, I got, if people feel like supporting, I got a little bit of merch. I got the book on pre-order right now. That's currently being, the design and typesetting is getting finished right now, and then it'll be print and shipped. So you can pre-order that. And yeah, enjoy the videos. At this point, there's like probably an hour and a half of material that has on all sorts of stuff, all the things that we talk about in this community that I'm sure relate to other episodes that you guys have had. So yeah, if you like talking about these things and enjoy comedy, that's kind of the fusion. Don'tSlapSnooze.net. Yeah.
Amazing, man.
Your website, and then we'll have your website, and then we'll have your Instagram page under as well.
Sounds
cool.
Good.
All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Thanks, fellas. Love you guys.
And that wraps up today's journey. But hey, the truth train doesn't stop here. Every Friday, we drop little nuggets of wisdom straight to your inbox. We're talking mind-expanding ideas, heart-opening perspectives, and the kind of content that hopefully makes you go, whoa, I never thought of it that way. Our Friday drops like having coffee with that friend who always blows your mind. Except this friend shows up right on schedule and never asks to borrow money. So if you want to join our truth-seeking tribe, it's super easy. Just hop over to hereforthetruth.com/Friday and hit that subscribe button. No spam, no fluff, just pure unfiltered goodness delivered weekly. So if you're ready to make your Fridays a little more truthful, a little more inspiring, and a whole lot more awesome, your future self will thank you for this one. See you next time. And remember, we're always here for the truth, and we're always here for you.